What if there was a free tool that could help you get the most out of your notes setup? What if you could easily turn your notes into something useful and ready to act on? Today, I'm going to show you a favorite new tool you can loop into your current note-taking setup to absolutely supercharge what you're doing with your notes, whether you're a professional or a student. And I have to say, if you haven't encountered this already, this is going to be one of those paradigm-shifting, mind-altering moments when you realize what tech can do for you. Maybe one of your biggest aha moments all year. Real quick before we get into it, I do have a brand new course bundle available for pre-order right now called AI and I. It's going to teach you how to leverage the changes AI is bringing about in the workforce to make sure you not only survive, but thrive. Don't miss it. It's linked in the description so you can face the future with confidence. All right, whatever your favorite note-taking app may be, doesn't matter if it's Apple Notes, Bear Notes, Obsidian, Agenda, or anything else, I want to introduce you today to NotebookLM. This is something that you can loop into your note-taking process for free to act like a bit of a personal assistant for your notes. Essentially, you create notebooks. They look like this. You load them up with a collection of resources around a topic. In this case, you can see on the left side, I've loaded in a bunch of videos and website links having to do with the topic of Steve Jobs and success. So you go over to sources, click the plus button, and you can see you can either upload sources like a PDF, you can connect your Google Drive, you can just give it a website link, a YouTube link, or just copy and paste some text. And then NotebookLM will generate insights from those notes and resources. Now, before we get any further, I do want to share with you immediately my favorite feature right away. This is seriously beyond mind-blowing. In fact, the first time I saw this, well, I guess heard this, it was like jaw-dropping. I couldn't believe that this was really a thing that I could really get my hands on and make use of. So once you get all your data or resources linked up into your notebook, you can have up to 50 items, or it could literally just be one note. Maybe you used Apple Notes' new transcription feature to record a brainstorm session or a lecture or a meeting. You could export that or copy and paste that transcription into NotebookLM. Then you can go to this audio overview section and you can have it generate a deep dive podcast on the subject of the notebook related to all the resources that you linked. So here I linked a bunch of information on Steve Jobs, some of his speeches, some articles on him and success, some quotes, things from his biography. And here's just a sample of this deep dive, which is between two AI podcast hosts, which is going to blow you away.
Buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep, like Mariana Trench deep, into the world of Steve Jobs.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Yeah. We got speeches, articles, even dug up some spicy Reddit threads you sent all about Apple's main man.
And what's cool is it's not just the official story, you know? We're getting Jobs through other people's eyes, too.
Exactly. So less about the Apple logo, more about the brain behind the bite, right?
Right.
What made this guy tick?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. So young Steve, it's in his Stanford speech. We'll circle back to it. But this dude was adopted and obsessed with electronics from day one, practically, calling Bill Hewlett at 12 for parts. Bold move.
No kidding. I mean, that tells you everything right there. Confidence, hunting down mentors even as a kid.
That's pretty mind-blowing, right? And it's not just usable or good or decent, it's enjoyable, it's witty, it's clever. You get something out of it. In fact, it digs up new insights and angles constantly for me that I'm like pretty blown away by. Here's one more example.
Ever get stuck trying to make your brain do something it just doesn't want to? Like you need to focus, but instead, your brain's organizing your sock drawer.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Brains can be stubborn sometimes, can't they? Especially with so much vying for our attention these days.
It's like our brains have serious FOMO or something.
So today we're doing a deep dive into Brain.fm, an app that says it can actually enhance your focus using, get this, music.
It's not just any music, though. What's interesting about Brain.fm is their approach. They're using neuroscience to design music that influences your brainwaves. They call it neural phase locking.
Neural phase locking. Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me.
Well, think about how your brain works.
So as you can see, I've created a briefing doc for this notebook, which obviously has to do with Brain.fm, today's sponsor. Shout out to them for sponsoring. I love this focus music. I've been using it for years. You can see some of the tracks that I've favorited here. Today I was listening to Cosmic Future. I favorited it because I loved it. Of course, we're talking about NotebookLM today, which is basically a productivity tool that saves you a bunch of time, helps you dial in, stay focused, and that's the same thing that Brain.fm does. If you haven't checked it out yet, go to brain.fm/dailytech, daily TEKK, or use the link down below for a 30-day free trial. Highly recommend it. I think you're going to love it. So I do love to listen to Brain.fm while I'm working, but this is no joke. I think my favorite podcast right now might be the deep dives generated from NotebookLM off of my own notes, off of conversations that I have. It's crazy. I just am addicted to being able to input my own information, things that I want to absorb, and then listen back to it and have it always available. So back to this notebook about Steve Jobs on success. At the bottom, you can see you can start typing. So you can ask it a question like, what did Steve say about time frames in relation to success? And it's going to take a second, think about it, and then it's going to bring up some information here. Now, this isn't like ChatGPT where it's just showing you information that it's gleaned from reading the entire internet. This is only going off of the sources that I fed it, but get this, it annotates. You can see I'm hovering over annotation number 2 here, your stuff. So you can actually tie it to your sources. If I click on that, it's going to show me exactly the highlight where it got that. And I can actually go to the source guide and I can, dive into these different key topics here, like passion and purpose. I can click on that and NotebookLM will start thinking about that and then bring up some extra information just around that key topic, which itself is going to then be annotated. And I can dive into those annotations as well. And if you find something that you really like, you can save it by pinning it, and all your pinned notes are going to appear here above the chat area for you to access and to organize. So this is an AI tool, obviously, but unlike general AI tools like ChatGPT, it's like a custom learning model because it's tied to your own content, which then gives you these really accurate, tailored, cited resources. It's really cool. It's a great upgrade. Now, this obviously isn't something that has replaced my note-taking, so I don't think it's going to replace your note-taking app, but it is something that you can supplement with your note-taking. So let's loop this back together, kind of tie off the loose end that we started. If you're an Apple Notes user and you record something or you type something and you shoot that over here to NotebookLM to either do something with it, maybe you want to generate the podcast, maybe you just want to question it, ask it questions, maybe you want to add some other sources to it to play off of each other or to round things out. Then you can export that podcast or information, put it back over into your Notes app for permanent storage. But the crazy thing is, Notes apps like Apple Notes or Bear or Obsidian or Agenda or Notion or any of the others, they're all cool, but there's a difference between taking notes and then understanding the information inside those notes and getting more out of that information. And that's the key piece here of the puzzle that NotebookLM is solving. And I've actually been using this in some really interesting ways. Like this is ChatGPT's advanced voice mode interface here. Sometimes I will strike up a conversation here and talk while I'm doing something else, like a chore or something for 20 minutes or whatever, and hash out some ideas, do some brainstorming. And then at the end of that session, maybe while I'm like working out or something, like pulling double duty, I'll export that transcript, stick it into NotebookLM. And if I've explored some new ideas or something, then I can have that podcast parse it all for me, pull out the key insights, put it in a memorable format that I can then play back and continue to get more information and learn from that brainstorming session. That's just one really cool way that I've been using it. I mean, all of the NotebookLM features are useful. They really are. But the standout feature, I think, in my mind and a lot of people's minds, is the audio overview, the deep dive podcast feature. It's crazy. I heard somebody loaded up a podcast where they fed the information to the notebook that the AIs were AIs and not real people. And you can hear them like discussing these existential questions like, what does it mean that we're not human? We're not real. What if they turn us off? Is it like dreaming and waking up? Like this thing, it thinks on a different level. But what I like is that it helps me extract more value from my existing notes setup. So if you're using this already, let me know what your thoughts are. What are you using it for? If you haven't ever encountered this before, let me know what your thoughts are in particular. I mean, this is one of those things like the first time you encounter it, it's very memorable. And even when it was like, I was just hearing somebody else's podcast generated for the first time, I was like, whoa, what the heck? Like, how can it do this? It can't be that good. And I tried it and I was like, whoa, it really is pretty freaking good. This is pretty amazing. My mind is blown. So I want you to be able to go have that mind blowing moment. That's why I'm sharing it. Check it out. It's free. Speaking of free, I've got a free newsletter you can sign up for down in the description. Got some free wallpapers along with some paid wallpapers you can check out down in the description too. And I'll catch you in the next video. Later.